You know him as Barbie. Doesn't it feel like he's always carrying people around? Mike Vogel. She plays Julia. She is everyone's favorite redhead, but props to her for dressing up for Comic-Con today. Rochelle Lefebvre. Everybody's favorite bad guy, Big Jim, D. Norris. Once again, lots of love to the folks who dressed up and got in the Comic-Con spirit. Alexander Koch, watch out, because he'll lock you up in a bomb shelter. You want to think twice before you visit this guy's cabin. Sam Boudreau, Eddie Cahill. And then last but not least, the ladies' man of Chester Mill, Colin Ford. All right, you guys all take a seat, sit down. And real quick, Neil, I want to get an update on what's going on, so let's start with you.
Thanks all of you for coming. It's really great to see you all. And we just finished shooting last Friday, so we know the end of this season, but we won't tell you, we promise. But we are going to tell you a couple of really cool things. We're going to show them to you. We're going to show you 2 clips from episode 7. Now I know some people have told me that they think that Big Jim has gotten a little soft, maybe, you know, he's chosen and he sees himself as kind of the god of Chester's Mill, but we'll show you the other side again that you like. And then we're going to show you a clip from episode 7 as well, where, you know, we take a leap of faith. So let's see what that shows us.
What is happening with Barbie? And you guys have no problem killing characters in this show. So are we going to see departure of more characters throughout the rest of the season?
Of course we are. No one is safe under the dome. Last year I think we had 16. We have on the ceiling of our office what we call heaven, and we have everybody up there. And we have Dodie, and we have Angie, and we have Linda, and we have Reverend Coggins, and then we have a few more that are becoming this season. We kind of have kept the body count down a little bit at the beginning of the season so that we can like rev it up for the end.
I just want to know, how hard is it for the actors to read a script and say, wow, we're losing somebody this episode? How tough is that to watch friends go?
You have to ask Alex that, because every time I come to North Carolina, he asks me.
It's tough, you know, you grow so close to that person, you love them, and especially with Britt, like, I was the only person she was working with for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes, and we like developed this close bond. And, you know, reading the first episode, you're like, this is really happening, like, she's gonna be gone, but you never know. You never know when someone's gonna go, and you never know when they, you know, come around again. You know, because you saw like Jolene last year made a great appearance, and it's good to see her come back, and it's like we're all a tight-knit family. So.
Which also leads to the question, you know, can people come back from heaven?
Well, as Alex just said, Jolene, who played Dodie, came back to haunt Dean Big Jim.
Yep.
So when you're dead, but it doesn't mean you can't be an avatar at some point and come back. So there are no set rules. We said goodbye to Angie and Linda, but You know, there are certainly possibilities that one of them might be back.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the dome. Are we closer for people getting out of the dome?
Well, you'll have to, yes. One of our characters, guess who? You know, you just saw a clip. One of our characters might get out of the dome this season.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's fun. You know, a lot of people said, how do you maintain a show under a dome year after year after year after year? And you know, they've come up with a really exciting and interesting way of broadening the scope of our world. So I think everyone's in for a real treat once that happens.
I think also the writers have done a really good job of conveying that, like, for some of these characters, the dome is really not.
You're new, you don't care who gets killed, right? No, guys.
I read the script and go, oh, that happened to me.
Just kidding, I'm kidding. But it's been a lot of fun working with everybody.
It's great. Yeah, it's been great. And you know, we had the good fortune of shooting in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is a beautiful place to be. But no, I couldn't be happier to have been paired up with this crowd up here. It's good people.
All right, let's talk about a couple of subjects. First of all, will we find out what Angie saw in the locker before she died?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, like we said last year when we said we'd find out what the, you know, Big Jim's propane and that Barbie killed Julia's husband, we gave all the answers. We set up new mysteries, and we will definitely find out what's in that locker this year.
Alexander, how about when will we find out who killed Angie?
What about it? What do you want to know? You want me to just tell everyone?
You can go ahead. I think these people.
I don't know. Yeah, we will find out who the killer is, and you know,
Well,
Yeah, I think last episode we set
it's
that in
hinted
motion.
at. It's hinted at, but it's
It was Julia.
yeah, all along. But
She's young and pretty, I got jealous.
yeah,
Right.
but yeah, more conflict and fighting and attacking each other is coming later in the episodes. So revenge might be taken.
Oh, for sure. We saw, you know, the end of the last episode, Julia's making tea very innocently and sweetly and offers Sam honey and doesn't see that something got very exposed on his chest, and she's turned around and she's stuck in this house with Sam. Not a good thing, maybe.
Sam killed Angie.
We don't know that.
Dean, let's talk about Big Jim for a second. And will he and Junior ever get along? Will they ever see eye to eye? There's been a lot of conflict in this series.
I keep trying, but you know, he's a tough kid to raise. You know, that's part of the. Yeah, he didn't have a great father. I think that's part of our story is that you know the difficulty of trying to raise a psychopath is.
It's complicated.
He loves them. He loves them, and yet he knows that he's got some problems. So I think that's part of the thing that fuels our kind of story arc is you know trying to maintain a father-son relationship while we both have some psychological issues.
And that's the pot calling the kettle psychopath.
Yeah, megalomaniac.
But in a way,
I've been changed.
Big Jim's a little bit of a psychopath too, let's be honest. I mean, Big Jim's a little bit of a crazy man too.
Come on.
Let's
Don't
be
judge,
honest.
man. Don't judge. Just because you don't understand me. Yeah, he has some issues, which is probably why his son has some issues.
Hey, Eddie, let's talk about your, it seems like, blooming love triangle. Will we have that? Will we have a little love triangle for Sam?
Yeah. Sam stepped over his bounds in the last episode that aired and had taken a shine to Julie and made a play for her. It was very politely rejected. But nevertheless, took a shot.
Let's not make it weird.
Let's not.
Or,
That's tricky because I feel like we also, you know, the episodes take place, obviously, you know, every week, and I know this from watching shows, you know, in my own life where a week goes by and it might be a day in the life of the series, but for you, when it's been a whole week, you sort of feel like time moves faster and it's been longer. But we've really only been under the dome for about a month. And so one of the things that was a little bit tricky was, you know, conflict between Julia and Barbie, introducing someone else who might be like-minded and sort of find a way, but I also lost my husband a month ago, so it's like you want to sort of play carefully in that realm and try to keep it a little bit realistic, even though we are a sort of sci-fi show.
I call it tricky, I call it slutty.
I didn't say I wasn't having a good time.
We're talking about a guy who's been in the cabin for the better part of 10 years. One day decides to take a walk outside, and there's a beautiful redhead in the forest. You know, it's like,
Hey, I'm in, back.
and by the way, let's talk a little bit about how Barbie has, well, in the beginning, we didn't know whether he was a good guy or a bad guy. He starts the whole show by burying your husband. And so we're like, did he kill your husband? Didn't he kill your husband? Now you love him. So? What's that evolution?
He's smooth. He's smooth. No, I think, you know, as you said, it's a difficult line to walk, you know, kind of pinning the reality of life and how people would react to, oh, say, your new love interest having offed your husband, but also the heightened chaos of a dome coming down around your town, which is equally as unbelievable. So that we framed it in a way, I think, where we see Barbie's hand was forced in a form of self-defense, and in a way he was, her husband was committing an act of love for her by making sure she was taken care of. So heading into the second season, I think we see more of what makes Barbie tick, which is he may have some violent tendencies in how he gets there, but he really is there for the people and there to defend the defenseless.
Sounds like Barbie's going to be okay. I just fell down in a hole.
He did just take a little fall. That could hurt a bit. We'll see.
Hey, let's talk about Joe a little bit, Colin, and struggling since the death of your sister. What's next for Joe?
I think just in season 2 alone, you know, after he finds out that Angie's gone, and I think he's angry. I think he wants to know who did it. And I think the whole season, Joe kind of undergoes this transformation period between being a young man to being an adult. And I think that's just a big, I don't know, I think that Barbie is a huge role model to Joe. Even I think that he provides this example of heroic behavior as well as just bravery, and then being able to just, despite all the bad situations that are going on, just find the good, or if you can't find the good, just move on, because that's what we have to do in this situation. I think that he gets a lot of those notions from Barbie.
And he's messing around with Marie and Melanie.
Yes.
He also spends most of the show running around with a tablet trying to get emails so that he can respond to his millions of Twitter followers, but he can't get email in there.
Right.
That's why he's not tweeting you back, ladies. Stop asking me why he's not tweeting you back, because he doesn't have email under the dome.
Yeah, but who's tweeting him? So we do find out. So, you know, especially with you guys, if you go to houndsofdiana.com, it's like the Hounds of Diana. We're the first show, I think. Maybe there's some others that have done this, but, you know, in episode 3, Joe and Junior got emails. You saw Junior got a video from his mother. That is kind of something we haven't even talked about yet, that she's alive. But who's sending that? And so we have a digital character who's working out of houndsofdiana.com. And so you can go to it and follow the tweets. And then we're going to actually maybe meet that character in episode 8. So that's pretty cool to start with a digital character and then find out that he's really a flesh and blood character we can introduce as well.
And it's not just any tablet, it's a Microsoft Surface. Hashtag swag.
Still waiting for my Prius.
How has it been, how's the evolution of the show been for you? Because in the beginning, it was really an unknown entity. The people down in Wilmington, North Carolina turned out in force for the premiere. We're so excited about it. Now you go back to the second season, they know the characters, your faces have been all over. How have things changed? I'll let each one of you answer that. Alexander's smiling. Go ahead, you go first.
This is like my first really big gig, and it's been just such a whirlwind and amazing experience. The first season, people kind of vaguely knew who I was, and then it premiered, and then it was just coming back this season. It's everyone, some people just freeze up, and they're kind of staring at you. Airplanes kind of get awkward because people are subtly trying to be in the seat over, taking it. Yeah. And then I'm looking at them after I'm reading a book, and I'm I know what you're doing. Come on. So it's great though. Everyone has such a great positive response to the show. So yeah.
And after this, it's going to be insane.
Colin?
Just as far as being in Wilmington, I don't know. I think the experience is great. I think that filming in a smaller town like Wilmington gives Chester's Mill a nice little small town feel. And I think that being in Wilmington is great, and being there for the first season was fun. But going back and being in the same spot for the second season was nice. And working with our same crew in Wilmington was great, and because we had a relationship with them, and they knew how we like to work, and they knew how we needed to work, and how everything needed to go, and it just did. It was really seamless in the second season.
Tina, I'll let you answer this one. How important is Stephen King's continued involvement in the show?
I'm sorry, one more time.
No, I was saying, Dean, I'll ask you, how important is Stephen King's continued involvement in the show?
Yeah, it's Stephen King. Yeah, it's awesome. It's really important. I mean, he's such an icon and a legend. It's great to see him on the set. It's great to know that he's got a voice in what happens, and that he kind of helps guide the show. So it couldn't be better, to have him around and contributing.
Is it a little weird that he doesn't just scare the crap out of you when you see him?
He does scare the crap out of me.
Does he? Neil, you had said you had about 3 to 5 seasons worth of stuff figured out in the very beginning. Are you still on that trajectory?
Oh yeah, where we leave everybody at the end of the season, since we just finished on Friday, we we have great adventures ahead. I don't know that we even know what those are yet, but we've set it up so that we can keep going with folks like you. So we're hoping to do that because we have a lot of stories left to tell, and we can tell them in I think some cool ways. You saw in the clip the tunnels, so that's going to be something that's really, I think, interesting and really cool this season. How we find them, where they lead to, what they mean. So it opens up a whole new vista of storytelling for us.
Yeah. Rochelle, let's talk about Julie for a second. And, do you ever see any of yourself in your character?
A little more this season. She's more physical, no jokes about the love triangle. She's a little more physical this season, and is kind of, I don't know, I feel like maybe Barbie's rubbing off on her. She's becoming a little more active and kind of take charge and faces off with Big Jim a little more. And I feel like my personality is a little bit more balls to the wall, so it's nice to be able to play that. Interestingly, I learned a lot from her, from playing her last year, because she was originally conceived as a character who was extremely, intellectual, and she was the journalist, and I think it took a while for her to put her camera down and let her feelings show and sort of work things out. And if I have a feeling, you'll know. I'm very and so it was really cool to play a character who was more contained, and then be able to slowly kind of let her out, so that this season, the more things happen, the more crises there are, the more she really steps up, and the more she, has to be able to, I feel to take the guys, so to get tough quick.
You also feel like you're either on her team or Big Jim's team.
Yeah, I definitely think this season is about dividing lines. There's a push-pull for the town, and I think it's really a competition between, someone who wants power and is having trouble getting it, and someone who doesn't want it and is kind of having it thrust upon them. I think Julia's like a reluctant leader, but she'll do whatever she has to do to look after people, and he's not the way, so whatever conflict that creates.
Because I have this insatiable desire to find out secrets about this show. Is there anything coming up? Can you give us a hint of something that will make our jaws drop, besides Barbie dropping, literally? What are you allowed to tell? Go ahead.
Well, you know, for Barbie, Mike can talk about this a little bit. You know, he served, you know, in the military, and I don't know, I always thought from the first season that he was from a working class family. He seems kind of like a strong, really good values kind of guy, but...
Yeah, we get to come face to face with Barbie's father this year in a new and open world, and we find out that he in fact could have been a trust fund baby, which shows why he's kind of pushed away from that lifestyle, why he went into the military to make a difference from the life that he was used to, the life that he was raised in, and we find out some other familial secrets as well towards the end of this year that I think are going to surprise a lot of people.
I also think for those of you who've been tracking the mythology with the hands and, you know, whatnot, Sam, there are, which I can't tell you what, but there are reasons behind Sam's actions and motivations that tie very closely into the Dome and its whys and whens.
He's not just a crazy psychopath, is what he's
He's
trying to
not,
say.
right. He's not just throwing axes around for fun.
Big Jim publishes a book of poetry.
What would it be called?
I can't tell you, that's the secret. Die.
I think that something that's really cool too is that I think that something that we didn't see in the first season, you know, there's a couple of those looming shots of the dome and the helicopters surrounding the outside world, and I think that one of the questions for me, just as, you know, enjoying the story, has been, you know, how is the rest of the world reacting to the dome? And what are they doing out there? And this season, you will get your first glimpse of, in a small way, of what the impact of the dome has been and what people around it are doing about it and how they're reacting to it. And so I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's been a while since we've had that play, with that much play outside.
Right, because we're in the fishbowl, but outside, the world is a different place now that this thing is there. And so what does that look like, and how are people reacting to it, and what are they doing? So it's cool to get a look at that.